In the past, manual adjustments have mostly been only applicable to P4P. The thing is that sometimes you'll want a manual adjustment to apply to base pay as well, and I'll explain when you might be using that, as well as show you the new features that allow you to make this a little more flexible. So when you add something to a time card, let's first do manual adjustments, but the same is also true for trainer bonuses as well as project manager bonuses. Again, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, you're going to leave it at the default, which is it only applies to P4P. The thing is, there's going to be cases where you want to make a manual adjustment. For example, you want to add a $50 bonus to someone's paycheck because they did a referral for a new customer. Maybe it's $200 for a new employee that they brought on board. If you only did P4P, the problem is if they're a new employee, they're not efficient, they're getting trained up, and they are not making above base pay, they would actually never see this on their paycheck. Let me explain. Let's go over to here. So if we have a low performer and we're only applying this bonus to P4P only, you can see here, as is with whenever we're doing our pay period, we're taking the higher of these two, either base plus overtime or P4P, and we're paying them the higher of those two. Well, if I add that bonus onto their P4P and they're a low performer, what they're actually getting paid never moves up by that $50. And so if you're wanting to make sure you apply a bonus or a manual adjustment to someone's paycheck and it goes to their paycheck regardless of their performance, that's when you would put both on this as an option. Okay, so this is going to be mostly used for bonuses. Anytime you want to add to someone's paycheck and affect both their base pay and their P4P. Now, you would not need to do this if they're clocked in. So for example, if I go back to here, if someone did an hour's worth of shop maintenance work, you would not want to put to base pay and P4P. You would only want to adjust the P4P because as long as they're clocked in, let's just say from 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. this person worked, but from 10 a.m. to 11 o'clock, so 1 hour, they worked in the shop. As long as they stayed clocked in, base pay is moving up just fine. If you're wanting to apply it, but what you'll need to do is adjust, okay, let's say an hour, let's say $20. We need to add it to P4P to make sure that they are not penalized by doing shop work and non-revenue producing tasks that we've asked them to do, but we don't want to double pay them by doing P4P plus base. So again, most of the time, you're just going to be applying it to P4P, but in the case of like a bonus that you want to add to someone's account that is on top of their pay, and regardless of how many clocked hours they worked, that's when you want to apply it to P4P and their base pay. The best thing to do is just keep this in mind all the time and ask yourself, if someone's a low performer, do I still want them to get this bonus? All right. The same thing can be true for negative manual adjustments, and it's very rare that you're going to do a manual adjustment that is negative and include their base pay because that's illegal. You don't want to do that. But there are cases where we want to add P4P and base pay for manual adjustments that are positive. The same thing can be true for trainer bonuses. You can see here, as well as for project manager bonuses. Now, the main reason we can anticipate using this, and again, people use this for their own cases all the time, is if your trainer bonus, for example, is, let's just say this person worked, 7-8 hours, and let's just say we're going to do a $4 per hour trainer bonus. That'd be $32. Now, in this case, this employee, if they are really, really slow, even though they're a trainer, they would not actually realize this $32 if they were performing low because you're making this manual adjustment on top of just their P4P. But if you want to lock in that they're always going to make a certain amount per hour more, regardless of how fast or slow they are, then you would affect it on both P4P and base pay. All right, and you just simply do that. By doing this, they are going to make, let's just say that their typical base is $18 per hour. Well, by adding this, they are now guaranteed to be making $22 per hour because I'm tacking this on their base pay and on their P4P. So those are some of the use cases. There's going to be 100 different ways you could use this in terms of manual adjustments, trainer bonuses, project manager bonuses, etc. How you always want to think about it is simply, do I want it to affect both? Or if they perform low, do I not want them to see this bonus? So for example, when we do our trainer bonus, we only apply it to P4P because we want the trainer to be incentivized to make sure that they're fast enough to where they actually realize that trainer bonus. they potentially would never get this actual bonus if they're so slow that their performance is way down here. That extra manual adjustment really doesn't impact their pay. So incentivize them to stay efficient throughout the training process. Again, there's so many different use cases. Keep that chart in mind as to whether or not you should apply it just to P4P or to P4P and base pay. I would say if you're in doubt, stick with P4P because 90% of the time that's what you're going to want to use.